pull down here. That's acceleration over from the motorway, and we're going at pretty much legal speed limits there. So where to start? I mean, inside, I think it feels like quite a special place to be. This is a 2014 model facelift S212 version of the E63 AMG. The S is the estate version, whereas the W is the saloon version. Very early models of the 212 came with the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8. They then changed to the 5.5 litre twin turbo, which pre-facelift I think started at 525 horsepower, with an S version with 550 horsepower, I believe. And then the facelift I think came into maybe late 2013, maybe early 2014, something like that. And that increased the power to 550 as standard, and I think 575 for the S. So this is a standard, so 550 horsepower is standard. I've put had MSL Performance, famous with AMGs, have remapped this. It's somewhere around the 700 horsepower region, depending on which day you dyno it, and about 1,050 Newton meters. So I think that's something like, is that about 770 pound-foot? So a lot of torque, a fair bit of power, drives awesomely. So this non-S did not come with a limited slip diff. The S version came with a plated diff. I've had a Quaife ATB diff put in the rear for this, which is an excellent modification. Really helps with the drivability and putting down the power. It's also got a resonator delete in the exhaust, so no power gains from that, but to me it sounds a bit more like it should do from factory. Not obnoxious, but really nice roar from it when you put your foot down. So am I mad to be selling it? Well, yeah, probably, because this is an epic car and it's very hard to beat it as an all-rounder. The performance is superb, it drives brilliantly, it's a huge car that can take a whole family, and one of the biggest boots, I think probably the biggest boot I've ever had in a car. So your dogs and family holiday luggage can all come as well, and do 200 miles an hour down the Autobahn. So just a quick pull down here. Don't know how well the exhaust sound comes out on the video, but there's nice blips on the downshift. But what is this as a place to be? I think it's an incredibly nice, comfortable place to be. It feels special to me. It feels much more special than other marques I've had. In particular, the materials and quality of everything in this car is just superb. So, you know, you've got all this nice metal aluminium inlay on the steering wheel, the Alcantara parts on the steering wheel. The paddles on here I think are from billet aluminium, and none of this tacky stuff that I've seen in BMWs and Audis. Feels so nice. I love the analog clock. It's got a great mix. I'm not a big tech person. It's got just about enough tech. Obviously it's got sat-nav, Bluetooth connection, digital radio, but it's a nice mix of analog for me, because you've still got all the buttons, you know, for the heating, for the phone, etc. And you know, in my Audi, if I want to dial a number, I'm twiddling around the knob for every single number. It takes a bit of a while. Here you can just press the numbers. I quite like the simple things like that. So yeah, lovely place to be. Panoramic sunroof, Harman Kardon stereo, you know, all the usuals, cruise control, heated full leather electric seats, etc. This didn't actually come with many options. This particular car, I think it's pretty well spec'd as standard, but the things that it doesn't have that I might have liked, I think radar cruise control came. I'm not bothered about that, don't ever use it. The cooled seats was an option, I think. I think that's a bit gimmicky. I've got them in my Mercedes S600. They don't really work that well. What I would like is the dynamic seats, so that the bolsters inflate, I think, as you go around corners. Apparently they sound gimmicky, but apparently are really good, so I quite like those. The 360 camera on these, so this has got front and rear parking sensors, no cameras, again, doesn't really bother me. So yeah, that's the kind of spec. It's a lovely place to be, it feels special, it's comfortable. But really this is about the driving, and that is where this car just excels more than any other car I've had, I think. Excitement and the way it drives. So you've got a huge rumble from the large capacity engine, so you don't get many 5.5 litre engines anymore. And that AMG exhaust note is just legendary, especially with the resonator delete, so that is epic. The gearbox in this is 7-speed, I think they call it Speed Plus MCT, so multi-clutch transmission. People say it's a weak point in this car. I mean, I think it's pretty good. The obvious weak point is that there is a lag. I don't know, I guess it's a few tenths of a second between flicking a paddle and the actual gear change. That it's definitely there. You get used to it and you kind of accommodate it. So the time that you really notice it most is if you're accelerating hard and you change up. If you don't preempt this minor delay, you will bounce off the rev limit. Obviously, cut power at the same time. So that is there. It's real, but you get used to it, and I don't really notice it anymore, to be honest with you. There's a nice Maserati Quattroporte we're just passing. Another nice engine sound from that one. I think the AMG is better. So yeah, the gearbox I think is good. It's responsive. In C, so I think Mercedes call that controlled efficiency rather than comfort. It slushes the gear changes a bit more, so that it's more comfortable. When you're in manual and you're accelerating hard, it slams them with a big throttle exhaust brap in the background, which is pretty awesome. And then, so the engine is just, in my opinion, legendary in this. You've got that. A lot of people, AMG purists, still prefer the 6.2 naturally aspirated V8, which has, I will admit, probably a better sound, obviously non-turbocharged. Much less power. I think that ran around the 500 mark in the E63, just over. Much less torque. Incredibly thirsty engine as well, of course. So this has slightly better efficiency. Not that you buy a car like this for efficiency. Much more torque because of the turbos, and more power as well. So I think this is a great balance, this engine. And of course you've got easy gains. These kind of over-engineered engine, a simple stage 1 remap will see you well in excess of 100 horsepower extra on top. So it's pretty quick. One thing I'll do, I'm actually in the process of buying a draggy, so I'm going to do some, just out of interest, I've never actually used race start in this car, despite having it over 3 years. I don't really see the need. I'm not really about 0 to 60 times, but I'm going to do some just for the hell of it, see what it is. I think 4.1 is standard for the estate, I believe. Obviously hugely limited by traction because it's only rear-wheel drive. I expect to see something like 3.7, but once you're on the move with this car, and traction isn't such an issue, it is epically quick. It will accelerate at kind of 120 or more, as fast as, reasonably fast family cars will accelerate at 30 miles an hour. It is brilliant, and just ridiculous. There's not many cars that can keep up with this, I guess. It is supercar quick when you're rolling. I actually quite like, so obviously I talked about the limitation of being only rear-wheel drive. It is a limitation, and in the wet you have to be a bit careful. Over 1,000 newton meters of torque going through the rear wheels. It's got a slip diff, so you can put the power down easily. It's also then more likely to step out its tail rather than just spinning a wheel, so you've got to be quite careful, and your traction limited. But one of the great points about this is it's got the best traction control system I think I've had on a car. So 3 settings, fully on, sport, so half off, and fully off, and it really is fully off. I don't use that in the wet, I use it in the dry. But what I like about this is that even fully on, which I drive in, most of the time, it allows enough slip in this to keep you interested and on your toes, to the point where, even with it fully on, you can get enough slide of the back end to start scaring yourself. I really like that. It's a great balance, and with it in sport, you can move the back end around quite a lot, but you've got the added safety of knowing it will cut in and hopefully save you before the ditch. I'm not a good enough driver to drive hell for leather with it fully off, especially in wet. The suspension on this is, people say, can be a bit stiff. I like stiff suspension. I usually have it admittedly in the softest setting. This is cruising on a motorway now, so softest setting. If I'm on A roads, some big kind of sweeping bends or fast roundabouts, for example, I'll have it, or even B roads, I'll have it in sport, so the kind of middle setting, and that stiffens it up noticeably. Also stiffens the steering. You still get quite a lot of feel through it. The steering, despite being electric, is good, and you do get some feel. It's not the same as purely pneumatic steering, but it's still pretty good. The stiffest suspension you can't really use on some British roads. It is, well, I think it is quite stiff. I like to have it so on nice, smooth, fast A roads, for example, when you're doing lots of roundabouts in quick succession or something like that, it keeps the body really nice and flat, allows you to go quicker, but you need a pretty smooth road because it is quite uncomfortable on, let's say, normal British B roads. But again, yeah, it works well, and it's a really good balance because this isn't meant to be a super comfortable family car with stodgy suspension. It's a performance car, 85 grand performance car with 700 horsepower. So that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Steering on this, I touched on, it's really good for electric steering, and much better than, for example, Audis I've got, where it's way too light and you don't get any feel. So all in all, brilliant car. I guess I touched on the minor down points with the gearbox. I guess and traction, if you want to call that an issue, it's an issue. I suppose one of the things that bugs me slightly about this is the slight dead point that you get at the top of the pedal, and the delay. It's really the delay from depressing the accelerator to getting the throttle response. It's not turbo lag. There is a delay, and everyone who's driven these will know what I'm on about. So, for example, if you're coming out from a junction, there's that minor few tenths of a second delay from depressing your foot on the accelerator and actually getting the throttle response. Now, people say you can put a pedal box on. Yeah, admittedly, as you press your foot down, you'll get the throttle response more quickly, but there's still this delay from the instant of pressing it down to getting that initial response. It's a minor point, and overall, I absolutely love this car. I'll do another video on it soon, show you the exterior. I've also had the wheels recently done, which are non-standard now as well. Walk you around that, and hopefully I'll get the draggy soon, and I can show you some drag times of this, and perhaps a bit of a video of me driving it around some more exciting roads. Anyway, just a quick view of my E63 AMG. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me some comments. Subscribe to the channel, new channel, Rich Runs Cars. So just turned on again. See if we have a chance to show a bit more performance on slightly less busy roads. I don't think we're going to, actually, because it's pretty busy on a Friday after work. It's only about 3 o'clock, 3:15, but that's acceleration over from the motorway, and we're going at pretty much legal speed limits there. Full acceleration, wide open throttle. That exhaust is lovely. Makes me grin every time. I love it. I'm not sure if you can hear the exhaust blips on the way down the gearbox as well. So second gear. We'll go from second here, from almost standstill, and you'll see. And that's up to to fourth gear there, changing at about 5,500 and pretty quickly up to around 60. Great fun. You don't get bored of that very quickly.